In a cold and silent city, a millionaire struggling with loss crosses paths with a homeless, black girl who hides a dangerous truth. She warns him about the girls living behind her shelter, but she is hiding something even worse. The night they meet, their lives collide with a secret network. A burned house and a man who wants her gone forever. Nothing is what it seems, and the truth will change everything. Cold rain fell over the empty street as Daniel Hartley walked without knowing where he was going. His gray suit was soaked, his shoes were heavy with water, and his eyes looked like they had not slept in days. People in the city normally recognized him. Billionaire investor, owner of Hartley Innovations, one of the most successful men in New York. But today, no one stopped him. No one even looked twice. He looked too broken to be the man they knew from television. Daniel kept walking with his hands in his pockets. The city lights were blurry. His head felt like it was underwater. Every step hurt not because of the rain, but because of the news he had heard that morning. His daughter, Emma, who had been missing for 2 weeks, was confirmed to be seen last with a group of teenage girls. That was the last update the police had given him. No location, no contact, no suspects they were willing to name. They only said they were investigating. Daniel had waited too long, trusted too long, and now his patience had turned into fear, a fear so sharp it made breathing difficult. He found himself near the edges of the city where the shelters were. A place he normally sent donations but never visited in person. Old brick buildings lined the streets, some with broken windows. Streetlights flickered. A stray dog walked across the sidewalk, shaking water off its back. Daniel stopped under a street sign and wiped his face. For a moment, he could not tell if it was rain or tears. He remembered Emma as a child, running around the backyard with her hair flying behind her. She used to hide behind trees and jump out to scare him. She used to call him her hero. Now he was walking in neighborhoods he had never entered before, praying that anyone had seen her. He felt foolish. A billionaire who could not even protect the one person he loved more than anything. Across the street, a small shelter door opened. A group of people stepped out, talking quietly. One of them was a girl around 15 or 16, thin, holding a plastic bag with her belongings, wearing an oversized hoodie that looked older than she was. Her hair was tied back, her skin shivered in the cold, but her eyes were sharp. She noticed Daniel immediately, not because of who he was, but because he looked lost, like someone who did not belong on that street. Daniel leaned against a wall and closed his eyes. He whispered to himself in frustration. "Where are you, Emma? Where could you be?" The homeless girl watched him for a few seconds. She had seen many people break down on these streets, but something about this man felt different. He was shaking. He was staring at the ground like the world had ended. She hesitated, unsure if she should approach him or keep walking. People in her situation learned not to get involved with strangers, but she kept looking at him, and her instincts told her this man was in trouble. Daniel opened his eyes again and looked around. He did not even know why he had walked there. Maybe he hoped someone from the streets had seen something. Maybe he hoped the truth was hiding in a place he had never searched before. His voice cracked as he spoke. Quietly. "Someone. Please. Anyone. I just need a lead." The girl took a small step toward him. She hugged her plastic bag close to her chest. Her voice was soft but clear. "Mister, are you looking for someone?" Daniel froze. A stranger. A question. And suddenly hope flickered inside him again. He turned slowly toward the girl, not knowing that this moment was about to change everything. Daniel stood upright when he heard the girl's voice. For a moment, he forgot about the rain. It was the first time in hours that someone had spoken to him without pity or scripted sympathy. He looked at the girl carefully. She was young, maybe 16. Her clothes were worn out but clean. Her eyes were cautious but intelligent, the kind that noticed details others ignored. He cleared his throat, trying to hide how desperate he sounded. "Yes, I am looking for someone. My daughter, Emma Hartley. She has been missing. Have you seen her?" The girl stepped closer, just enough for him to see her face clearly. She studied him silently, like she was trying to decide if he was telling the truth. Street life had taught her to spot lies quickly. The girl finally nodded. "I think I know who you are talking about, but I need you to tell me more." "What does she look like?" Daniel pulled a small photo from his wallet with shaky hands. It was slightly wet, rainwater gathering along the edges. He held it out for her. She had long brown hair, light eyes, 17 years old. She went missing 2 weeks ago. The girl looked at the picture for a long time. Her expression did not give away anything. She kept staring, like she was comparing the picture with something locked in her memory. Daniel's heartbeat picked up. He felt the urgency rising again. Please, tell me if you know anything. The girl finally spoke, but her voice was low. I think I saw her. Not long ago. Daniel took a step forward. His breath stopped. Where? The girl looked over her shoulder, then back at him. Not here, not in this area. She pointed to a narrow alley that stretched behind the shelter. That direction. A group of girls stays around the old building behind the shelter. They don't live inside. They stay outside, in the back lot. People avoid them. Some say they run things in that area. Small things. Bad things. Daniel felt fear rise inside him again. What kind of small things? The girl shifted on her feet. She seemed uncomfortable. They bring in new girls, ones who look alone, or scared, or lost. The girl paused. I have seen them pick people up, girls especially. Daniel felt his chest tighten. She hesitated, then added one more line that sent a chill down his spine. And one of the girls they brought in looked a lot like your daughter. The street felt colder than before. The rain hit harder. Daniel felt his hands tremble, and he did not know if it was fear or anger. He took a deep breath. Can you take me there? The girl shook her head quickly. No, I can't take you. They would recognize me. They don't like people talking about them, and they never forget faces. Daniel felt hope slipping away again. He took another step forward, but the girl stepped back defensively. I didn't say I wouldn't help. I said I can't go with you. She pointed toward a dark corner where the alley began. I can tell you the safest way to enter their area, and I can tell you the parts you should avoid. If you go alone, you might have a chance to get in without them noticing at first. Daniel listened with full attention. Every detail mattered now. The girl tucked her hair behind her ear. Her voice dropped further. But before I tell you anything, you need to know something. Those girls, they are not just some kids causing trouble. They have people above them, people who control them, people who watch everything. Daniel frowned. What people? The girl shook her head. I don't know names. I only know they recruit. They watch shelters. They pick vulnerable girls. Whoever runs it stays hidden. The rain kept falling. The city kept moving. But Daniel felt the world narrowing around him. The girl whispered one more sentence. Those girls, they live behind my shelter, but the ones controlling them, they are somewhere else. Daniel nodded slowly, absorbing every word. He needed her information. He needed her memory. He needed her help. Tell me what to do, he said quietly. The girl took a deep breath. First, you need to follow me inside, not to see them. But because there is something I need to show you before you go near them. Daniel stared at her. What is it? Her answer was unsettling. It is something your daughter left behind. And the scene ended there, with Daniel feeling a sudden mix of hope and dread. The girl led Daniel toward the shelter entrance. The hallway smelled like old wood and damp clothes, but it was warm compared to the cold street outside. A volunteer at the desk looked up but did not question Daniel's presence. The girl walked with practiced speed, weaving through people without drawing attention. Daniel followed closely, his heart hammering in his chest. They reached a storage room in the back. The girl pushed the door slightly open and peeked inside before motioning him to enter. The room was small. Boxes of clothes, old blankets, shelves filled with items people had dropped or forgotten. The buzzing sound of a small heater filled the silence. Daniel looked around. What are we doing here? The girl closed the door behind them. I needed a place where no one listens. People talk in the shelter. Secrets travel fast. If those girls know someone is looking into them, they react quickly. I don't want them to hear any of this. She walked to the shelf, reached between two boxes, and pulled out a small Ziploc bag. Inside was a thin bracelet with tiny bead charms. Daniel felt his heart jump. He recognized it instantly. Emma had worn it every day. It was the only handmade item from her childhood she had kept. Daniel stepped forward, voice shaking. Where did you get this? The girl held the bracelet in both hands like it was something dangerous. 4 days ago, someone left it near the back fence. It was placed on top of a broken crate, where only people who know the area would look. She hesitated before continuing. I saw one of the girls throw it there, like a message, or a warning. I don't know. Daniel felt his stomach twist. Why would they leave it there? The girl looked him in the eyes. Because your daughter was with them. Because she tried to get away. And because they wanted someone to know she failed. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. He gripped the edge of a table to steady himself. His voice cracked. Are you saying she is still alive? The girl did not answer immediately. She lowered her gaze. I don't know. I only know she tried to run. I saw her from the alley about a week ago. She was crying. She looked scared. And she was not alone. Two of the older girls were dragging her back inside the old building. I wanted to help, I swear! But if I tried, they would have taken me too. Daniel closed his eyes and tried to control his breath. Pain spread across his chest, fear, rage, a desperate need to act. He opened his eyes again. I need to go there now. Tell me how to get in. The girl shook her head quickly. If you rush in, they will hide her, or move her, or worse. They know when strangers enter their area. You need a plan. Daniel took a step forward. Then help me make one. The girl looked torn. She paced a few steps thinking. Then she stopped and sighed. Fine. But you need to understand something. If I help you, those girls will come after me too. Daniel swallowed hard. I will protect you. The girl looked at him. With the kind of expression only someone who had lived on the streets could give, a look that said she did not believe promises easily. But she still nodded. All right, here is the truth. Those girls, they are not acting on their own. They answer to someone they call the broker. I have never seen him, but I have heard them talk. He gives orders. He sends cars. He collects money, and the girls follow everything he says. If your daughter is with them, she was probably taken for him. Daniel felt a cold fear spread through him. Who is he? The girl looked toward the door as if afraid someone might hear. Whoever he is dangerous, and he knows this shelter well. That is why we need to move carefully. Daniel thought of Emma again. Scared, crying, dragged by strangers. The girl placed the bracelet in his hand. It is the only proof I have that she was here, and the only reason I stopped when I saw you. Daniel looked down at the bracelet and tightened his fist around it. The girl added one more line. If you want to find her, you need to follow me at midnight. Not now. Midnight is when those girls move. Daniel looked at her sharply. Midnight? Why midnight? Her answer was simple and terrifying. Midnight is when they pick up new girls. The city looked different at night. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet, reflecting pale lights from passing cars. Daniel waited in his SUV across from the shelter. He kept checking the time on the dashboard. 11:58. 2 minutes left. His chest tightened each time he imagined Emma in that old building, surrounded by girls who controlled the back lot. He gripped the bracelet in his hand. His mind replayed memories he wished he could hold on to forever. Emma smiling on her birthday. Emma running around the house. Emma telling him she wanted to become a writer. He whispered to himself, hoping she could somehow hear him. Hold on, I am coming. At exactly midnight, the shelter door opened. The homeless girl stepped outside, hood up, backpack slung over her shoulder. She walked calmly, as if she had done this countless times. She approached his SUV and tapped the window lightly. Daniel unlocked the door and she got in. She looked around the car, surprised by how clean and expensive it was. Then she turned to Daniel. First rule, you do not let anyone see you talk to me. Those girls already know the shelter crowd. If they see me with you, we both become targets. Daniel nodded. What do I do? She pointed toward the narrow alley behind the shelter. You drive to the end of that alley and turn your lights off. There is a broken iron gate behind the dumpsters. You will wait there. They will come out from the building on the right side. You must not step out until they move away from the entrance. If you move too early, they will run back inside and hide everything. You will lose your chance. Daniel swallowed hard. And you, where will you be? She opened the car door halfway. I will watch from the roof of the shelter. That is how I keep myself safe. They never look up. She tightened her backpack straps. But listen carefully. If you see a black van, do not follow it. That van belongs to the broker. If you chase it, he will disappear with whatever he is transporting. You want your daughter, not the whole network. Daniel felt a surge of fear. What if Emma is inside that van? The girl shook her head. They never move new girls in the van on midnight pickups. They only use the van on weekends. She paused. If your daughter is still there, she will be inside the building, and you need to get proof, something you can show the police. Without proof, they will not touch the broker. Daniel clenched his jaw. I only want my daughter. Nothing else matters. The girl hesitated, then said something unexpected. If you take her tonight, they will come after both of you. They do not let anyone walk away. Not the girls. Not the witnesses. Not the parents. Daniel felt his heartbeat race. Then tell me how to get her out safely. She stared at him for a long moment. Her voice lowered. There is a back door. A rusted metal one. No one uses it except one guard. If you distract him, you can slip inside. For a few minutes. Not longer than that. Daniel leaned forward. How do I distract him? The girl slowly pulled something from her backpack. A small brick covered in tape with a fuse attached. A homemade noise device. It will not hurt anyone, but it will sound like the wall cracked. All the girls will rush to the front to check. The guard will run too. You get your window. Daniel blinked. You made this. She nodded. I made it for myself, but I never used it. I kept changing my mind. Tonight it will help you instead. Daniel understood that this girl had once been targeted too. She was not just helping him. She was showing him the tools she had built for her own escape. She looked at him seriously. When the sound goes off, you have 70 seconds. No more. Daniel stared at the device, then looked into her eyes. I will not waste them. The girl stepped out of the SUV and pointed toward the alley. The girls usually come out at 12:15. Get in position. Daniel drove slowly. The alley grew darker with each turn. Buildings leaned close, blocking the sky. He reached the spot behind the dumpsters and turned the lights off. His breathing was loud inside the silent car. Then, from the rooftop, a small flashlight blinked once. It was the signal. The operation had begun. Daniel watched the door of the old building. It was hidden between two cracked walls, barely visible from the street. The alley smelled like rust and damp wood. Rats scurried near the dumpsters. Time crawled as he waited. At 12:15, the building door creaked open. 3 figures stepped out. Daniel leaned forward, heart pounding. They were teenage girls wearing dark clothes and heavy jackets. Their movements were sharp, practiced, and silent. They looked too organized, too controlled to be simple runaways. One of them carried a small flashlight with the beam pointed at the ground. Another held a phone and kept glancing at the screen. The third girl walked last. Her hair was braided tightly. Her eyes scanned the alley like she was trained to watch for danger. She whispered something to the others and pointed down the street. They nodded and moved in that direction. Daniel closed his eyes for a second, steadying his breathing. These girls. This was the group that dragged Emma back. The group that recruited others. The group the shelter kid was terrified of. The flashlight blinked twice from the roof. Another signal. The girl watching from above had seen something Daniel could not. A second group of girls stepped out of the building. These were younger, maybe 13 to 15 years old. They stayed close together, nervous, following the older girl like a pack. One of them stopped suddenly and rubbed her eyes. She looked scared, like she was about to cry. The older girl grabbed her arm harshly and pulled her forward. Daniel felt his blood boil. How many girls were trapped here? How many were taken like Emma? The roof flashlight blinked again. 3 quick flashes. That meant one thing. The guard had appeared. Daniel saw him exit the building. A man in his 30s with a heavy jacket and a cigarette in his mouth. He carried a metal baton. He leaned against the wall, checking his phone, not paying attention to the girls leaving. He was the one the homeless girl had warned him about, the one who controlled the back door. Daniel kept his head low and stayed still. The girls began walking toward the end of the alley, where the streetlight flickered. They moved carefully as if they had a set route memorized. Daniel realized this was their routine, their midnight sweep, their way of searching for new targets. Then Daniel noticed something else. The youngest girl kept glancing back toward the building. Her hands were shaking. She took one slow step after another, like she was trying to avoid drawing attention, but Daniel could see it clearly. Her fear was different from the others. She looked like she was not supposed to be there. The guard whistled. The older girl snapped her fingers and the young one hurried forward. Daniel felt a knot form in his stomach. He whispered to himself, "Emma, please be inside." Then on the roof, the flashlight blinked one long flash, the signal he had been waiting for. Time to prepare the distraction. Daniel reached for the noise device the homeless girl had given him. His hands were trembling, but he forced himself to stay calm. He tucked the device under the SUV tire and positioned it carefully. His breath grew heavy. He had 70 seconds once it went off. He whispered again, "Emma, I am coming, sweetheart." As he stepped back into the SUV, he saw something from the corner of his eye. A face. Someone was watching him from the window of the old building. A silhouette, still, silent, eyes locked onto his car. Daniel froze. Had they seen him? Was it Emma? Or was it someone else? The flashlight on the roof did not blink. No warning, no signal. Which meant only one thing. Whoever was watching him was not part of the group outside. And that made it worse. Much worse. Daniel did not move. He kept staring at the dark window where the silhouette had appeared a second earlier. His heart pounded so loudly that he felt it in his throat. The figure was still there, only the faint outline visible through the dirty glass. Whoever it was, they were not trying to hide anymore. They were staring directly at his SUV as if they knew someone was watching the alley. Daniel leaned back slowly, trying to stay calm. He did not want to show panic. He did not want to give himself away. He watched the window carefully, waiting for a clearer shape, a sign, anything. The silhouette shifted slightly. A hand lifted. The person placed their palm against the glass. For a brief moment, in the dim alley light, Daniel thought he saw long hair, a slender wrist, a familiar stance. Emma. His breath caught in his chest. He leaned forward instinctively, desperate to see more. The silhouette moved closer. The figure stepped slightly, into the faint strip of light coming from the hallway behind the window. It was a girl, but she was not Emma. Her hair was shorter. Her face was pale, bruised on one side. Her eyes looked exhausted, almost empty. When she saw Daniel leaning forward, she pressed her finger to her lips, signaling him to stay quiet. The gesture was fast, shaky, and full of fear. Then she pointed toward the hallway behind her. Her hand trembled. Daniel tried to read her meaning. Was she warning him? Was she telling him to run? Or was she trying to say something about Emma? Before he could guess, the girl jerked back sharply. Something or someone had grabbed her from behind. Daniel saw her body being pulled out of view. She tried to hold on to the window frame, but she was dragged away. And just like that, the silhouette vanished. Daniel felt a cold sweat run down his spine. The roof flashlight blinked twice. The homeless girl had seen the same movement inside. It was her warning signal. Someone dangerous was awake inside the building. Daniel tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He had planned to act after the distraction, but now he felt time slipping away. Whoever grabbed the girl might also know someone was watching from the alley, and if they knew, everything would fall apart in minutes. Daniel looked at the noise device again. His hand hovered over it. The girls outside were just starting their routine patrol. The guard was still leaning on the wall, distracted by his phone. If Daniel acted now, he could get inside before they realized something was wrong. But the image of the girl being dragged haunted him. If someone was awake inside, the danger was higher than expected. 3 short blinks came from the roof. The homeless girl was telling him one thing. The window girl was not supposed to be there, and Daniel needed to move quickly before the person who grabbed her returned. Daniel exhaled slowly. Then he reached for the device fuse. His fingers shook. The moment he pulled it, a sharp crack exploded through the alley like a section of the wall had collapsed. The sound echoed between the buildings. The guard jumped, dropping his cigarette. The girls outside froze for a second and then rushed back toward the entrance, shouting at each other. Daniel saw his chance. He slipped out of the SUV, keeping low, and ran toward the rusted back door. His shoes splashed in puddles, but the noise around him covered it. The guard and the girls had all run toward the front of the building. Just as the homeless girl said, he reached the back door and pulled. It opened halfway before making a long metal groan. Daniel clenched his jaw. He pulled again. This time it opened enough for him to slip inside. The inside of the building was cold, dim, and filled with the smell of damp wood and old chemicals. The hallway was narrow. Paint peeled from the walls. A faint light flickered somewhere deeper inside. Daniel had 70 seconds. He moved quietly, stepped slow and deliberate. His heart hammered as he listened for voices, for movement, for anything. Halfway down the hallway, he heard a soft sound behind a partially closed door. A muffled cry, a soft choke, someone whispering. He leaned closer and pushed the door slightly open. What he saw inside made his blood run cold. It was the girl from the window. She was tied to a chair. A cloth was wrapped around her mouth. Tears streamed down her bruised face as she struggled against the ropes, and she was staring at Daniel like he was her only chance of survival. Daniel slipped inside the dark room and shut the door quietly. A faint desk lamp flickered. The girl tied to the chair shook her head fast, eyes wide. He knelt, placed a finger on his lips, and untied the cloth from her mouth. She gasped for air, tears falling. When he tried to free her wrists, she pulled back. She whispered, "Not yet. You need to listen." Daniel froze. "Listen to what?" The girl leaned forward. "You are looking for another girl, a new one. They brought her here 2 weeks ago." Daniel tensed. "Her name is Emma. Where is she?" The girl looked terrified. "You are too late." Daniel's chest tightened. "Is she alive?" The girl swallowed hard. "They do not keep new girls here, not if someone else wants them. The broker came last week. He took 2 girls. One had long brown hair. Emma," the girl continued. "She begged to go home. She tried to escape. She scratched the guard. They punished her." Daniel felt sick. "Is she alive?" "I do not know. If the broker took her, she is not in this building." Time was running out, but he leaned closer. "Who is the broker?" "No one knows. He moves the girls around. Locked places, empty houses. The girl said your daughter fought him. They said he hurt her." Daniel's heart broke. The girl grabbed his sleeve. "There is something I hid." She nodded toward a crate under blankets. Daniel opened it and found a torn paper. His breath stopped. "Dad, I am scared. They watch everything. If you find this, keep looking. Do not stop. I love you, Emma." Daniel dropped to his knees. "She wrote it the night she tried to run," the girl whispered. "I saved it. I knew someone would come." Daniel wiped his face and stood. "You are coming with me." She backed away in fear. "If I leave, they will hunt me. If they catch you with me, they will kill you. You need to go now. Return in." Then they both heard it. Heavy footsteps in the hallway, getting closer. The guard was returning. The police station was cold and gray with walls that made every voice echo. Daniel sat at the metal table, his hands locked together. Across from him, the lead detective placed the file on the table and stared silently. Mara stood outside the questioning room, watching through the glass. Her heart thudded hard. She had been through enough to know something very serious was happening. The detective finally spoke. "We ran checks on the informant you used, the girl who came here earlier, the one who told us about the girls near the shelter." Daniel nodded. "Yes, Mara. She is the one who led me to them." "What about her?" The detective opened the file. "She is not who you think she is." Daniel frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" The detective leaned forward. 3 weeks ago, there was a house fire in North Hill. 2 people died. A teenage girl survived. She escaped and disappeared. That survivor was Mara. Daniel stared blankly. Mara survived a house fire. She never said anything. "Why hide this?" The detective continued. "The fire was not an accident. The investigation found traces of an accelerant. Someone set the house on purpose. And the same signature appears in another fire downtown last week." Daniel felt his stomach drop. "So the people who burned her home might still be looking for her." The detective nodded. "We believe she saw something that night. Something she has not told anyone. And now, those people want her gone before the truth comes out." Daniel stood abruptly. "She is just a kid." She thought the girls living behind the shelter were the only danger. "But someone else is hunting her." The detective closed the file. "She helped you find the missing girls. Now you need to protect her, because someone already found out she is alive." Before Daniel could reply, an officer rushed into the hallway. "Sir, the girl, Mara, she is gone." Daniel ran out of the room, panic gripping him. Mara had disappeared from the station, and whoever was after her might already be near. Night had fallen again. The cold wind moved through the empty streets around the shelter, but the shelter itself was too quiet. Lights that were usually on were off. Doors that were usually locked were open. Daniel pushed the door carefully, flashlight in hand. "Mara, are you here? Answer me!" Only silence. He moved deeper into the shelter. Chairs were overturned. A window was broken. Something terrible had happened here. Then Daniel heard it. A faint tapping sound, slow and irregular. He followed it to the basement door. When he opened it, the smell of dust and damp air rushed out. The tapping continued. Almost like a code. He went down the stairs. In the far back room, hidden behind stacks of old metal cabinets, he found a door slightly cracked open. Inside, he saw something that froze him. Mara sat on the ground, hands tied, lip bleeding. Standing near her was a man in a heavy jacket with a scar along his jaw. The same man he had seen in security camera footage weeks earlier. The same man connected to the missing girls. Daniel stepped forward. "Let her go." The man smirked. "You rich people think money can solve everything. But this girl, she saw something she was not supposed to see that night. And now she thinks she can expose all of us." Mara glared at him. "You burned my house because you were hiding the girls in that warehouse. And you killed my parents to shut me up." The man chuckled. "Smart girl." Daniel clenched his fists. "You are going to prison." The man pulled a knife from his jacket. "No, I am not." In that moment, Mara kicked the man's leg hard. Daniel lunged forward. The knife slashed across Daniel's arm, but he pushed through the pain. He grabbed the man and slammed him into the corner wall. The knife dropped. Mara crawled away as Daniel punched the man again, keeping him down. Blue lights flashed suddenly through the basement windows. Police sirens grew louder. Daniel shouted, "Mara, run to them, now!" She sprinted upstairs. The man tried to reach for the knife again, but Daniel kicked it away and held him until officers stormed the basement. 2 officers handcuffed the man. "We got him, sir. Good work." Daniel sat on the floor, exhausted, blood dripping from his arm. But he only cared about one thing. "Where is Mara?" She stepped down slowly again, her eyes full of relief and fear. "Daniel, you saved me." Daniel shook his head. "No, you saved yourself. You told the truth when no one else could." But Mara looked down. "This is not over. There is something else I have not told you." Before Daniel could ask, she whispered, "There were others involved." Police lights flashed across the shelter. Officers secured the area and took the captured man away. Daniel sat, arm bandaged. Mara stood tense nearby. Daniel asked, "You said there were others? Who?" Mara whispered. "A businessman, a donor. He sent girls away, Mr. Harlow." Daniel froze. He knew the name. Everything clicked. The fires, the threats, the missing girls. "I will go after him," he said. "With the police?" "Every kid he hurt." Mara nodded, tears in her eyes. "I am ready." They watched the police drive off with the man. The night was cold, but Mara felt safe. Daniel felt purpose. Tomorrow they would finish the fight. The sun rose. This was the beginning, not the end.